Hi Broken Arrow, I'm Norm Stevens, Economic Development Manager for the City of Broken Arrow. Welcome to the latest segment of the Economic Development Impact Series, where we highlight the latest information about economic development administration and activity updates in Broken Arrow. During these monthly updates, we will discuss why it is important for residents to shop local and how City and Chamber staff work to recruit and retain businesses. The updates will cover economic development activities that are happening all over the city. Joining me today is Council Member Debra Wimpee. How are you, Councilor?
Pretty good.
But I really want to talk about what I thought was the best part of the entire night, and that is when Darla Heller came forward. And Darla, as you know, is the Vice President of Economic Development for our Chamber EDC. And Darla updated the authority on our manufacturing partners. Last council meeting was Manufacturing Month, and
right.
you all declared it officially to be so. So we thought it was only a natural fit that Darla come in, talk about all the jobs, all the high-paying jobs, the clean jobs that we have in manufacturing. And it was really a good update, and I learned a lot from listening to her.
I'm not sure how many people realize that we're the third largest in manufacturing, and how many jobs come along with that, and what that means for our city to be able to have employers that have that many, employees that are living and staying and playing in our city. So,
so many people believe that if you get retail or if you have restaurants, then the jobs will follow. And we know that's not the case. You got to have the jobs, and then the retail and the restaurants come in around it. You got to have the people who are making a good salary, who are doing a job that they are buying nice homes, that they're buying vehicles, that they're spending their money in our city. And when that happens, it's like everything falls into place.
That's exactly right.
So Darla did a fantastic job. It was great information. I look forward to everyone getting to see it. I know that you and the other authority members enjoyed it. And
yes, always.
We'll do this again next month, and I appreciate you coming to join me.
Well, thanks for having me.
This meeting was shorter due to time constraints. BA Chamber Vice President for Economic Development Darla Heller presented information regarding the manufacturing industry in Broken Arrow. Here is the clip.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilors, City Manager. I am honored to be here this evening. I would say I know I'm what stands between you and your cozy bed, and if staff behind me, especially Mr. Curtis, wants to take liberty, if I get too long-winded with the buzzer, I will accommodate him for sure. So what I want to do, and before we get to talking about manufacturing, I do have some slides on manufacturing, but I just want to go over just a little bit about what our EDC does. All of you are inherently familiar with the way that Broken Arrow EDC is funded and governed. Jennifer Conway, our CEO, has been in front of you several times talking about just those issues. She has the heavy lifting. I get to do the fun stuff and talk about the work that we do. Do I have the ability to change this slide? Okay. Is it the red button?
No, it's just the right.
The right button. Okay, there we go. So what I want to talk to you a little bit about is the work that we do, and cover 5 different areas the work that we do as the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority. First of all, we market the community. You all know that. So I'm going to share with you a little bit more about that. We drive research within Broken Arrow. I want to cover our business and retention efforts as they relate basically to manufacturing and other industries, and that feeds into workforce development as well. And just to cover just a little bit about the fact that we facilitate conversations as your EDC. And what I hope is that you leave here knowing a little bit more about how to utilize this organization if you didn't already, and then how, and obviously information about manufacturing. So this is what we do well. We tell the story of Broken Arrow. This is, if any of you have sat through presentations that we've given, you will note, you recognize this information. We do this in order to recruit new business to the area. Whether or not we're talking to companies that are trying to locate in Broken Arrow from another state or another country, we are the primary organization that markets the community on your behalf. And we do that by setting Broken Arrow apart, not only in the state, but also in the region and around the world. So these are just a few slides. We can provide you any demographic information moving forward too. We continue to market Broken Arrow with several tools. So the Broken Arrow Economic Development website, I've noticed that that's a little off. I guess it's the way that it's being brought through with the monitor. It's not exactly right. BrokenArrowEDC.com is our website. Again, thank you all for supporting that. And we have community partners that came together to provide that tool. Utilize that. There's a way that you can search properties on there and find what properties are listed or available for sale or development. One of the other ways that we do market our area is through a marketing material. So this piece, I do have copies of that, and I'll leave them up here for you. This Grounds for Development, Mr. Stephen uses this quite often when he goes and talks to retailers. This has about 13 or 14 different developable areas within Broken Arrow. So I wanted you to know that we do develop tools in order that are at the disposal of our organization, the City of Broken Arrow, and anyone that's looking to promote our area. I do want to tell you a little bit about our research capabilities with our institution. This slide and the next one really tells you what the buying potential is in our community. So if 100 is what the national average is, we're above 100 in most of these categories. So we have tremendous purchasing power here in Broken Arrow for retailers to utilize. Also, you guys are very familiar with retail leakage and how that works. And as you see, we've got grocery store circle. We're losing lots of dollars there, and that's something that everyone on this board knows. Business retention and expansion. This is where we as the EDC probably get the biggest bang for our buck. And you see all the businesses that are listed here. They're headquarters or they are companies that have a big presence in Broken Arrow. We want to be through the doors of those organizations. They employ lots of our folks. We want to make sure that we understand the issues that they're having and how to match them with resources on a state level, on a national level. So business retention and expansion means a lot of things. It may mean working with a small business in order to source glass jars, right? And finding that information. But it also might be connecting a major Department of Defense contractor with resources that they could utilize from the state's perspective and use some of those state programs like Equality Jobs, that kind of thing. So that's our mission with our with business retention and expansion, as well as to find out those issues so we can advocate on behalf of Broken Arrow largest employers. Workforce development, I know I won't spend a lot of time on this. Again, thank you guys for supporting this effort along with Tulsa County. More will come on this center when it opens. We know from our visiting with our manufacturing that workforce is their number one issue. Workforce is the number one issue when we fill out those requests for proposals with the Department of Commerce. They want to know what we have, what our pipeline looks like, how much available labor, and what skill sets those people have. And what you have empowered us to do as your EDC is to be able to answer those questions, not only for businesses moving into Broken Arrow, but for businesses that are here looking to expand their workforce. So very grateful for those tools. We start a lot of conversations. We carry the ball a lot of the time for all of your vision, and the Innovation District is just one example, and I know you all have other examples of that where your EDC has worked for you in that way. I did want to just report out, I just wanted to put this slide in here so that you basically know that our board of directors has impact on and directs the work that this organization does. So through our program of work, goals are set. We report out on those benchmarks in a monthly way in order with reporting to the city through Mr. Stevens and an annual report too. So I have copies of all of that stuff up here for you guys. I will say though, from January to August of this year, we've responded, I just gave a quick look, where we have responded to more requests for proposal in that time period than we did of all of last year. We have also met with more businesses and had more one-on-one contact. And I think, that says a lot. That says a lot about the fact that we're fully staffed now. And or we're more staffed than we were a year ago. So we're making a bigger impact on your behalf. And I don't think we could talk about the EDC without mentioning what a year we're having, and we're continuing to guide and pull in the same direction as you are, as the city, as the public school system, in this recovery effort that is underway. I just wanted to point out, I got some new numbers from the Department of Commerce. I don't even think I've shared them with Jennifer yet, that we have about almost $6 million that we were able to bring back to Broken Arrow in those state dollars through COVID response. So we did a lot to encourage businesses to apply for that. About 2.8 million of that, the 6 that I talked to you about, came to manufacturers. So those manufacturers were able to buy new equipment and start new product lines based on their pullback. So what they were able to do is keep those employees employed longer, get different work that they kind of pivot what they were working on. A lot of them did produce the PPE, but a lot of them did find other product areas as well. So major industry sectors. I'm finally getting to Mr. Stevens' point with manufacturing. Manufacturing, and when you look at that top row on existing industries, manufacturing employs around 7,000 employees in our community. Construction's around 4. Retail is about 5. Accommodation and food is about 4,500, and healthcare about 4,000. So through the research that HRNA and HAF did on the behalf of cluster analysis, what they did is looked at our existing industries and used this cool tool called a location quotient, and I won't get in the weeds with you and explain what that is, but used those tools in order to come up with those industry cluster targets that you see there, and those also can be related to manufacturing. I really don't have to preach to you much about this industry. You all know the impact that manufacturing has on our community. Broken Arrow is built on innovation. We have a long history in manufacturing and workforce that is both entrepreneurial and technically skilled. Again, around 300 different manufacturers. That accounts for around 7,000 employees. You all know that we make flight simulators here. We make circuit boards. Did you know that we make pressure measuring probes for aircraft? Did you know, of course you did, that we make precision micro optics and medical devices, as well as combustion pollution control technologies. And we make ice cream, right? Broken Arrow boosts foreign investment in manufacturing by companies that are headquartered in Germany, England, Mexico, Sweden, and Canada. If you combine the total wages that manufacturers spend here in Broken Arrow, that equates to around $400 million collectively in wages and salaries. That average wage is around $60,000. I've seen other reports up to $70,000 on an average wage. With that 7,000 job, that's 85% higher than the national average. So something to be proud of. When you look at the annual increase of the amount of new employees, that's a 3.2 increase annually. Of course, it will be adjusted for this year. That we won't quite hit that, I'm sure. Looking at gross regional products from earnings, $492 million. Property income is about $276 million, which is a total gross regional product of around $782 million by Broken Arrow manufacturers. When you look at the state, well, I do have one statistic that's really interesting to me, that from 2016 to January 2020, there were 10,000 job postings just in manufacturing in Broken Arrow. That's amazing to me. Some of those are backfilled. So when you look at the unique postings, and when we look at those, we can say those are newly created jobs. So within that 4-year period, of course, we did have, some oil price differentiation there too. About 2,000 of them were new jobs, so that's quite a number. In Oklahoma, about 136 Oklahomans work in manufacturing. That's 1 in 12 in our state. And about 9.5% of the total output for our state is from manufacturing, about $19 billion. So for every 100 high-wage jobs in manufacturing, another 240 additional jobs are created. So, you all know the impact that this industry has. We will continue to advocate, work towards. Today we spent 8 hours with 1,000 ninth graders talking about manufacturing. We had 40 different volunteers from 26 companies. City of Broken Arrow staff did come out and participate with us as we talked to all of those students about about the jobs that are available to them and what the pathways look like. I want to commend Broken Arrow Public Schools for having that event in person and allowing us to do that workforce development. One teacher came up to me and she said, Mrs. Heller, this is the most engaged my students have been all year. They needed that interaction, they needed that mentorship, and it was professionals coming into the classroom and talking about what they love and what they love doing in our community. So I thank you for the work that I get to do every day, come to work in Broken Arrow. If we can be of any service to you at all, please let us know. We're a small staff, but we're mighty, and we work on behalf of Broken Arrow to do the work that we do. So does anyone have any questions? There were no buzzers.
Any questions of Darla?
I love it y'all went to the school. That made me tear up.
It was a really great day, and we had so many people just want to volunteer, and so many of our manufacturers that are headquartered in other places that their corporate doesn't allow them to go outside or go outside their own doors. They expressed to me how sad they were that they couldn't be here this year. But we still had quite a bit, and they loved bringing their submersible pumps that they create at Baker Hughes, or the widget that a job shop makes. I had several people that just stayed all day just so that they could talk to kids about.
Well, and I think it plants that seed that, you know, because sometimes college isn't for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it plants that seed that you can still have a great career, you know, in manufacturing or electrical or, you know, plumbing.
And some kids,
Yes.
who knows, their parents might be out of work and they can, or maybe they've never seen we have kids that live with their grandparents that have never seen somebody go to work.
Right.
And so planting that seed of, wow, this is something I could do.
Yes.
I mean, that's an awesome thing.
And your investment, too, Mr. Parks, in this, what we're in our workforce development initiative, we hope to do one with healthcare too and expand that as we have resources and staff time.
Sure.
I know you had a comment, sir.
I was just going to make a comment. You know, I worked for 23 years for the State Career Tech and taught plumbing or taught construction. But I taught it after I got out of prison, the last 13 years I taught in Bartlesville.
He worked in prisons. He taught in prisons.
And
clarity.
Our machine shop, they could build anything. So we'd take anything to them. But we had and the welding teacher had a student that didn't have any arms. So they tied the welding rods to his arms, and he learned to weld. Well,
wow.
Pre-engineering and our machine shop got together and built him some arms. And that would go on his arms that he could work, and had a place for his rod to hold. And I mean, he could just weld anywhere. He was so excited.
Great.
But our machine tool place, he could build anything in there. So it was taken. And those kids learned a lot, and they had jobs when they got out, and high-paying jobs when they got out, even more than plumbers.
Well, I thank you for this presentation. I have been a fan of of the EDC and its purpose from its inception, and so being able to see the work you do and the expansive work you do, I think there's even more you could do.
Oh, yes.
And I love seeing this level of participation and all the creative ways you're using to solicit businesses and retain them and work with our city economic development folks to make sure that we continue to be the best place in Oklahoma to work. So I appreciate from the small beginnings to where we are now, I think it just has nothing more but extra potential to grow.
With your leadership, Mr. Stevens' leadership, you know, we aim to serve, so it's an easy ask for us, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition of the BA Economic Development Impact Report. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any suggestions or would like something specific mentioned in a future monthly report, please call or send me an email. Until next time, I hope you will continue shopping local and be amazed at what our city has to offer.